What's up everyone, it's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Please follow my Instagram at Russo Lifts, just in case something happens to this YouTube channel. You can follow, message, and you can watch my daily story content on Instagram. I'll see you there. What is up everyone, it's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. ASMR sip today is 1907, my favorite water, no sponsor. You guys see the title of this video? It's another BS clout grab and a voice crack. The monotone is a couple octaves higher. I drank my coffee, but if you're just stopping in, I hope you check out my informational content. That's, it's not allowed to get out there. But anyways, today I'm going to be talking about Larry Wheels' OnlyFans social experiment. So I'll give some background to this, I've been a fan of Larry Wheels since, he started on YouTube, and I noticed him when he was very young. I was like, oh my goodness, this might be, the strongest dude walking on the planet eventually, considering the weights he was moving at 19, 20 years old, how insanely strong he was, with little to nobody, training him or anything. And I followed him his entire career, and unlike the other, superstars I've, analyzed on this channel, his ego's intact. His ego's very based, and it's not out of control all over the place. I give that hats off. You got the strongest man, in my opinion, pound for pound on the planet. One of them, I'm not going to go into specific arguings, but when I think, strong power lifter, Larry Wheels pops in my head. So I've been following Larry forever. I'm a fan of him, and Black Tom Cruise, rest in peace. When I was in my depressive episodes, I'd watch their videos before going to the gym. Black Tom Cruise, ultimate hype man. Larry, ultimate, get hyped lifting. And I don't know if you guys ever watched the Larry Wheels video, but I'll have Andrew throw up his laugh. His laugh just like leaks Trembolone out into the camera through your phone. It boosts your Trembolone every time he laughs. So yeah, this is coming out of a good heart for me and a good stance, but let's analyze it and say it how it is. So Larry Wheels publicly stated that he had a sex addiction specifically to webcam models. So he came out, this was him, public video. Andrew can play a little tiny snippet to show that it's real.
6 months of experimenting and visiting these campsites, I realized myself going on it more and more frequently.
Where he admits his addiction to webcam models. He was living in LA. I think he was spending all the money he was making, which he was making well over $20,000 a month minimum, on webcam models. Horrible addiction, which is crazy. You think a man like Larry Wheels probably has all the female attention in the world, is spending his time simping to webcam models, specifically getting them to do shit, getting the dopaminergic reward system fucked up, as far as him being on tons of steroids, having super, hypersexual libido, and, all that being messed up, on top of him getting instant stimulation constantly by, spending money on webcam models. And he just came out kind of like how I did my suicide video. He put that out there. That's in the past, and I respect and condone that completely. And I think that was amazing that someone with his following, his stature, his status, shows his weakness, shows him falling down, and he lets it all out. No bullshit, puts it in the past. It's out. He got that demon out of him, and he moves on. So that earned a shit ton of respect from me to Larry. Fast forward now, Larry launches an OnlyFans. Now, let's preface this that gay for pay, whether you like it or not, is a big thing in bodybuilding. I have been, I wouldn't say harassed, I've been contacted by a lot of very rich gay men for free apartments, free trips, salaries, fucking gifts, designer clothes. The list goes on and on. Obviously, I gotta give them something in return sexually, but as far as like when you see like those IG thought models that get everything they want, and they have like the plane emoji and shit, and they fly around like they're at the top of the totem pole. I'm at the top of the totem pole for gay men, and I got nothing against that, and I really got nothing against gay men in general. This is not me being homophobic. This is just saying that that is a massive thing in bodybuilding and always will be there, because unlike women, gay dudes are right up front about they like a muscular, super masculine man, whether that be hyper masculine with the use of exogenous androgens or just regularly masculine. The masculine hierarchy with gay people is very just prevalent out there, where a woman will pretend not to be attracted to me until, the claws are dug in, and then she lets off the act. And it's the same thing. Gay dudes are just straight up with it despite them being gay, Anyways, that's a massive thing. Larry obviously knows that. I'm sure if the amount of shit I've gotten offered, that it's 1,000 times fold with Larry, right? 1,000 times fold. And Larry also admitted in this video that his girlfriend did OnlyFans. So Larry's sacrificing his health, taking tons of PEDs, risking his life doing these feats of strength, right? Every single deadlift above like 800 pounds is life-threatening, in my opinion. When you think of the blood pressure that Larry gets to once he locks out over an 800-pound deadlift, like once he's at the top, the blood pressure in his head, life-threatening, right? That's why Larry's so fucking badass. That's why Larry's a motherfucking G, because he's constantly chasing PRs, even at his not older age, but he's still going at it. He's still at it, and when you're pushing those big of weights, they're risky as fuck. So he's risking that, all this work for him to grind up to the top of the fitness industry, and he sees his girlfriend doing OnlyFans, probably cash flowing the same amount, if not more than him, the entire relationship. As much as like Larry probably is like, oh, you're using your body to generate income. This is the modern era. This is 2022. Society is breaking down before our eyes, right? The Great Reset. I'm not gonna put my tinfoil hat on and go down that rabbit hole. I was already shadow banned on Instagram multiple times. Follow me on Instagram at Russo Lifts for going into how society's breaking down and breaking that down and discussing that. But basically, Larry knows the money he could be missing out on, and Larry probably has an agent, or Larry has some social media guy in his ear saying, think about the bag, blah, 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 think about the bag. And Larry's, put in that prominent position of like, yo, I was a simp to these webcam models. I got caught in that trap, right? But he's kind of curious, in my opinion, the amount of cash he could flow on OnlyFans, and he decided to do a social experiment. And I say that in quotation marks because he decided to test the waters, right? He's dipping his feet in the waters to see the potential cash flow. So basically, Larry goes out on the video. He's saying like, oh, just a social experiment. I just wanted to see how the whole, fitness industry would react. I want to see how Greg Doucette would react. I want to, he's hiding behind that, right? Which it could be a social experiment with intentions of collecting analytical data behind it. Sure, you can mention that. You didn't mention that, but it's a weird thing where like Larry definitely knows that he was a victim of what OnlyFans is, right? And OnlyFans is people worshiping you, people wanting to be near you as close as they can. They want to be near a super hyper masculine dominant male and be able to use their money to interact with you, or use their money to get sexual things from you, and they'll pay you a lot to do that, but you're still selling your soul in that aspect. Now it's 2022, you can weigh that out. I'm not saying Russo will never drop an OnlyFans with his PE content, my penis enlargement content on this channel. I don't give a fuck, right? I'm not hiding behind, oh, I think it's bad. I really don't give a shit about sex work. I think anything goes, and when you break down the ruling class, what they've done to program society, are you really, like, once you're black pilled to the level I'm black pilled, do you really give a fuck? No. But anyways, Larry does, because he's a victim of that. And Larry hid behind, it was a social experiment, and he had the video up for, I think, or he had the announcement of he had the OnlyFans up, I think, for 7 hours or something, and only 65 people signed up, despite, I think, over hundreds of thousands of people clicking on it. Now, what does this say, right? Larry was testing the waters, whether it's a social experiment, whether it's not a social experiment. Like, what if out of the, I think he said over 100,000 people clicked the link, what if 50,000 people signed up in 6 hours? What if that happened? What if that cash flow was already set in stone off of one pic of Larry Wheels in his underwear, because that's what he put up there. Pic of him in his underwear. Same thing as bodybuilding posing. Nothing, he didn't do anything raunchy. He didn't do any of that shit. But, he's testing the waters. What happens if it popped off? I don't know. You tell me. Obviously, people are liking the video because this is what he was trying to see. And he removed the video, and then the entire time, I'm sure his agent, I don't even think it's Larry doing this. I think it's the team Larry has built, the amount of employees he pays, the scalability Larry has in a certain amount of years, aka 15 to 20 years, and the cash flow that's on the table that he could be missing out on. That's super easy to get, which could scale his employees, feed more people's mouths, and make him more prominent in the industry if it popped off insanely rapidly. Did it? No, it flopped. Why did it flop? Because Larry Wheels' audience is a bunch of dudes like me who are just in awe of his feats of strength, in awe of his raw transparency, and this was completely out of line with the video he made where how cam girls ruined his life. And it's weird because in the video, he has a whole video saying, oh man, cam girls ruined my life. That sexual addiction almost derailed my entire career, the darkest time of my life, etc., etc., right? So he's going into how these sex workers, his brain, his mind, his primal mind that was super jacked up on steroids, fucking succumbed to him spending thousands of dollars a month to get them to do sexual favors and command them around. And he saw the amount of money he spent on that shit while having a girlfriend who was doing it, okay? So seeing the amount of cash flow she received doing nothing. I'm not saying, yeah, you gotta work a little, sexual favors, okay. That's some work, but in reality, think of the amount of work Larry's had to do to get to that cash flow, or his girlfriend had to do to get to that cash flow in 2022. People are gonna get the bag with morals and ethics or not with morals and ethics, and it's really how you weigh your morals and ethics, and it's really how you analyze actual history. You black pill yourself, you see how actual history is playing out, and then you apply that to the current morals and ethics, and that's a whole separate tinfoil hat topic for Russo. But I'm just saying, we see this and we go, okay, this is kind of hypocritical, right? Because it's like he's basically succumbed around the money he spent, the amount of money his girlfriend made, the amount of money his managers, his team, the people he's feeding every month says that's left on the table that you're just not getting. So he probably was like, fine, fuck it, I'll hide behind a social experiment. If it pops off, we'll deal with it later. And he probably was hoping it wasn't gonna pop off. I guarantee whoever was in his ear about this shit, because I don't think it was just him on a 1 million+ Instagram page that, sure, there's gay dudes following him, sure, there's gay dudes are gonna pay for that following him, but it's primarily straight males who are into powerlifting, into bodybuilding, who worship his feats of strength, not his junk, right? So I'm sure someone was in his ear and he found out the perfect way to test the waters while saving his ass. But there's a bit of hypocrisy there from my personal viewpoint. Like I said, he went on to not attack sex workers, and he went on to be like, sex workers are fine, etc., despite them derailing his life, sucking his income. His primal mind was addicted to the dopaminergic stimulation of, imagine you have all this money, you're living in LA, you're hypersexual, you don't want to go around shoving your dick in random women because they'll hit you with lawsuits and shit. You already have a girlfriend who does that shit, who's constantly hypersexual around you. So you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna go on a webcam, I'm gonna pay a bitch to shove shit in her ass and her vagina, and I'm gonna get that stimulation that way so no one thinks I'm a bad person. That's the way I read that shit. And he came to that addiction, he got out of it, he puts it out in the public, and years later, here he is dipping his feet in, right? So that's the hypocrisy. I have nothing against people who do OnlyFans, and Russo's not against OnlyFans, especially with his penis enlargement content. I'll say that publicly. I don't give two shits. I will say with Larry's specific situation that it was more than a social experiment to collect analytical data to see the cash flow that was easily possible. It flopped. I'm sure Larry in the back of his head was super, super happy it flopped, right? Because he can say to his management team, look, I did it, I launched it. Look, 60 people signed up. My audience doesn't want this shit. Look at the amount of people that, you know, are gonna belittle me and attack me, which I'm not really doing that here. I'm just saying it how it is on, oh, I was addicted to sex cam workers and now I'm doing it myself. Look at the amount of, you know, potential publicity damage I took, and it flopped. So I think Larry at the end of the day has got 2 middle fingers to whoever made him do that, and he took the W, my opinion. I don't think it's an L. I think it was a lot more complicated than people think of, oh, I'm just gonna launch an OnlyFans today. I feel like he knew exactly the can of worms he was gonna open and knew that any publicity is good publicity, and his escape route was already planned in this whole situation, and he didn't even keep it up the full 24 hours because he was done. You know, he was done. He didn't want that shit, and he knew the outcome despite if it popped off or not. Now, what if he was making over $50,000 a month in 6 hours? I feel like that would have sparked a different conversation with everyone on his team, because a lot of people don't realize it's not just Larry when you're that size. You have a whole team. I have 2 people on my team at this size. I can't imagine how many people Larry's got. He's got his own companies. He's got tons of sponsorships. He's got to be able to put content on all these social medias. It all adds up. It's mouths to feed. And then you got the dudes who've never fucking had a following in their life in your ear talking about scaling. And you got to scale harder. Blah, blah, blah. You get caught up in the numbers. You get caught up in the money. And then it leads to shit like that. And Larry had the perfect escape route and he planned it correctly. And it flopped in his favor. And I'm sure he wanted it to flop and didn't want the fucking money. But there you go. It is what it is. I'll see you in my next video.